Bruh.
Bruh. Look at this dude.
John C.
Look at this dude. You don't actually believe that, do you? Does anybody actually believe that one-handed is just as hard as two-handed? Let me paint a picture for you. You're bowling with your mates from real life. They're not bowlers. Maybe it's a coworker, family, a friend, and they're like, man, bowling's so hard. I want to throw more strikes. I want to curve the ball more. Do you look at them in the eye and say, oh, maybe you should put your thumb in the ball and throw one-handed and you'll throw more strikes? No! Nobody ever says that, at least in modern day bowling. If you want to throw more strikes, the easy way, take your thumb out, throw it, curve it more pin action, more strikes. I've never seen a beginner bowler go into bowling with their thumb in it and have an impressive rev rate, good ball roll, good pin action. That doesn't happen. You take your thumb out, it forces you to be in a powerful position at the release. You get a nice rev rate. You're instantly 400 plus rev rate. You're instantly having pin action. You can instantly take advantage of the fact that house patterns are easier and you're taking advantage of the oil on the inside and the dry on the outside. When you're throwing it with your thumb in it, new, you don't get that. There's no debate and no argument. I don't know why anybody's even triggered by that fact that I'm saying it's easier. It's a fact, a pure fact. And that's just for beginners. Let me get more in depth on you. And before I get more in depth, let me just say I'm not a two-hand hater. I love two-handed bowling. I think it's fun. I think it's a great addition to the game. I love watching Belmonte, Oscar Palermo, Simo, etc. I love how they bowl. Like, I'm not a hater about it. And it's for sure a lot more exciting watching these two-handers with their 500 rev rates destroying the pins than it was watching the bowlers back in the 90s throwing their 100 RPMs up the 10 board and leaving weak 10s every other shot. But it's easier. That's just a fact. This is coming from a guy who's bowled 300s, one-handed and two-handed, okay? So I know both ends of the spectrum. One-handed, there's so much more to learn. When you start bowling, you're going to have no rev rate at all. It takes years to get a good release, nice and smooth, where you're not jerking on it, pulling on it. And you still aren't at your maximum potential compared to just taking your thumb out. When you're bowling one-handed, you obviously have a thumb hole. And a big factor in how you bowl is your span. A 16th difference is like nothing, but it feels so much different if it's a 16th longer or a 16th shorter. You're going to notice a huge difference from small minor adjustments like that. And then you have to worry about your thumb pitch, the way the hole's going down in the ball. You can go forward, right, left, up, down, straight, B, center. That makes a huge difference too. And when you don't have a thumb, you don't have to worry about that at all. Versus just having two finger holes. So much more simple, so much easier. And then the most annoying thing about bowling one-handed is your thumb, the thumb hole itself. You will never have a perfect fitting thumb. And when you do, a few frames later, it's going to shrink or it's going to swell and suddenly it's not fitting perfect anymore. And then after bowling 10, 12 games, your thumb's sore, it's ripped open, it's bleeding, and it's just not a good time. My thumb is such an annoying part of bowling because it's just so frustrating. Two-handed, no thumb. Don't have to worry about any of that. You don't have to buy thumb tape. I hate thumb tape. And now let's talk about sport patterns. Sport patterns are obviously tough. They're flat. It's a lot harder. But there's keys to breaking it down and making it easier. And if you have a higher rev rate, which you will without your thumb, no matter what, like it's almost impossible to have a higher rev rate with your thumb in the ball. You can break down the pattern, make it easier, burn up a spot, move way left and bounce off that spot. And suddenly it's a lot easier for the guys that have a 500 rev rate, like Belmonte and whoever else. That's just how the game works nowadays. If you have a high rev rate, it's a lot easier for you regardless. If you're using your thumb today, you're either stubborn, a masochist, or you've been bowling so long that you've developed a good game and you're really good one-handed and it's going to be really hard to switch to two-handed. I'm the first two. My game's not that good one-handed, honestly. I think it's better two-handed. But for me, the idea that I can't figure something out bothers me. I know the mechanics of the pro release. I know exactly what goes into it. But getting my body to actually do it, for some reason, is really tough. And I just want to figure that out for some reason. I don't know why I don't just switch. I'm honestly just stubborn at this point. But that's the future of this game, honestly. High rev rates. I think as we go further and further, it's going to be more and more two-handers and more EJ Tackets and the like who can develop a 500 rev rate with their thumb in it, which is not going to be that many people, honestly. It's going to be mostly two-handers unless the lanes change, unless the oil patterns change, unless the balls change, unless something drastic happens, which I don't think is going to happen. The future of the game is going to be 90% two-handers and then the EJ Tackets. That's my 2 cents on this subject.